Hi, I'm Amy Bodkin, Special Needs Consultant at a Charlotte Mason Plenary. As a school psychologist, autistic adult, and special needs mom, one of the most frequently asked questions I get is how to handle challenging behaviors. Join me today as we continue our series on behavior and bridging the communication gap. Before we discuss how to make rules that will work in your home, we need to talk about what rules are and how they're different from principles and habits, which also serve to guide behavior, but in very different ways. Principles are the ideas and beliefs that guide the development of both rules and habits. Rules are social and geared to what is best for the community. Habits, though, are individual and geared to what is best for the individual. What rules are most valued for getting along in our home or community will change based on location and atmosphere. What habits will be the most beneficial to an individual will change as well based on location and atmosphere, but also individual variables such as personality. For example, in some communities it is considered rude for children to talk in adult conversations. But in other communities, it's considered rude if a child doesn't talk. In some communities, it is rude for someone to walk into a house wearing shoes. And in other communities, they would think it was odd if you left your shoes by the door. With habits, that gets more into usually how we do things in our home to take care of ourselves or to take care of our home. So we might look at dishes, for instance. In some families, it is common for them to all do the dishes together as a family right after dinner. And in other families, they may rotate and each person is responsible for dishes on a different day, so the person might choose the time that's best for them. In other families, they may soak the dishes overnight and do the dishes first thing in the morning. So it depends on the personality of the person as to what method is going to work, and also on the people that are in that person's life and setting and the schedules that that family or community has in place already. There are 4 basic guidelines to creating effective rules. The first one is that rules need to be explicit. Everyone needs to know the rules, the children and the parents. Reviewing rules every day can be a great way to help make sure that everybody knows exactly what the rules are. And this really gives a lot of comfort to both children and parents. It makes the children less frustrated because they don't feel like they're constantly walking through a minefield trying to avoid all of the mines because they don't know what the rules are, so they don't know where the mines are. It also helps the parents, though, too, because it gives them a focus of what is really important and what they're really focusing on. The second guideline is that rules need to be short. You only need as many rules as everyone can remember and as you can enforce consistently. When I was in school, we had so many rules at our school that we had an entire handbook of the rules, and that was just the dress code. There were so many rules that it was impossible for them to be enforced, and so people frequently did not follow the rules. If you want the rules to be followed, it has to be a small number, small enough that everyone can remember and that they can be enforced. Generally speaking, for me, I find this to be about 3 to 5 rules total. Any more than that, and I'm not going to remember them or be able to reinforce them consistently. The next guideline is that rules need to be positively stated. Because we have to have a short number of rules, it helps if we tell the child what to do instead of what not to do. When we tell them what not to do, we end up needing more rules than if we had simply told them what to do. A great example is, again, the dress code that I grew up with at my school. Eventually they switched to uniforms and they've had fewer problems because they were telling the children what to do, not what not to do. And the same is true in our homes. If your rule is, sit in your chair on your bottom, that's the only rule you're going to need for that. But if your rule is don't stand in your chair, you're also going to need don't stand on your head in your chair, don't cartwheel off your chair, don't jump off your chair, and we can keep going on and on. So if you tell the child what to do, you're not going to need as many rules. The final guideline is that rules need to be focused on observable behavior rather than intent. We can't see what a child is thinking, and it makes no sense to make a rule forbidding the child from thinking about something or having a wrong intent. It needs to be something that everyone can see and know for sure, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do, this is not what I'm supposed to do. Typically, it also really helps if the behavior is very concrete, because that way everyone is certain of whether or not they're following the rules. For example, if the rule is we sit in chairs on our bottoms, everybody knows that we can look at the child and see what they're doing. But a rule like we are kind, that one's a little bit more abstract. Abstract rules can be used, but when we do choose to use a more abstract rule, then we need to remember that we are teaching this rule, and that just because someone isn't kind doesn't mean they necessarily immediately get in trouble or reprimanded, because the child is still learning what that abstract concept means. So instead, we use it as a teaching moment. So you might say, hey, that's not being very kind. How else could we say that? And try to help them. If they choose not to, then you could go on from there. But concrete rules are the easiest. In our home, we have moved on to some abstract rules. Our 3 house rules, there's only 3 of them because I can't enforce any more than 3. They are, we are kind, we are truthful, and we do our work. All of those are relatively abstract, but it also serves as a great opportunity for me to pay attention and work with my kids on learning how to be kind and how to be truthful and how to do our work. It has nothing to do with the attitude or what they're thinking about. If you are wanting to address, maybe you have a child who is always very grumpy and angry when they have to do their schoolwork. In that case, you might say, make a rule that says something like, we complain in our rooms, so that they know that they can still feel angry and frustrated, and they can still express that, but they can express that away from everyone else. Join us for the next episode in this series, where we will be talking about easy, practical things you can do to set yourself up for success. Also, make sure to head over to the Plenary website for a free download. It will include some more examples of different kinds of rules that you could make using these guidelines. Be sure to subscribe to the Plenary YouTube channel and click the bell so you get notified about each new video as soon as it comes out. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to hearing about the kinds of rules you come up with to use in your home.